G'day guys, welcome to a chat with Jay from Journey of a Whitefeather, Words of the Warrior, and of course 1111 Spiritual Transit Podcast. I have flown all the way to Colombia. Well, I haven't, but I'm doing a Zoom meeting with the lovely Irah. Now, we were off air talking about what you actually do, so I'm actually going to let you. It's a metaphysical navigational coach, if I'm correct. I hope I'm right anyway. But welcome to the show. I've seen your TikToks. I reached out to you, and you do some wonderful work in the spiritual community. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Fantastic. Well, myself and my partner Jackie, who does the 1111 Spiritual Podcast, our goal is to get to talk to as many people as possible, give them a safe space to talk, and basically because you've got so many skills and so many people that need to hear what we've all got as gifts inside us. So this is our one part of our journey. So thank you very much for coming on. We've got limited time, so we're gonna go straight into this. This one guy's gonna go not pretty quickly, but we're gonna get a lot of information. Irah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to this point in your life. And again, talk about some of the great spiritual awakening messages that you've been giving out on TikTok. Floor is yours.
Thank you. So basically, I was born in Peru. My mom's Peruvian. My dad's Cuban. So I was raised with African religion. And I was always my family was always pretty spiritual. My mom, a little bit more on like the atheist side, although she was very gifted. Grandmother was gifted as well, astral projection, etc. She was one of those that would find the missing stuff that her children would lose while she was sleeping. Yep. So my family was always very gifted. So it was it was gonna happen eventually that it was gonna happen to me. I was born pretty rebellious and not understanding social norms, not understanding why the world worked the way that I did. I hated wearing uniforms since like the first day of school. I'm like, why do I look like everyone else? I was always just somebody who like was able to be like, why does this work this way? Like just questioning stuff since like the day I was born. So eventually I went through a lot of mental disturbances when I was younger, around like pretty much my entire life up until I was like 16. I was dealing with bipolar, etc. I was medically diagnosed kind of against my parents' will, but I did it was a little bit confusing. Like my parents didn't really end up wanting me to get those diagnoses or like take me to the psychiatric like places, but my meltdown happened publicly, and since I was a child, they took me like without their consent, and they were also immigrants in the United States, so they didn't really know how the United States worked. You feel me? And
so you're in Colombia now, is that right?
Yes, I am. I'm traveling.
No worries. Okay, we'll keep going. Sorry, okay, you're traveling. Cool.
No worries. It's okay.
No worries. Keep going. Sorry to cut you off there. Keep going.
No worries. So basically I was, medicated and diagnosed with a bunch of stuff, bipolar, psychosis, ADHD, and MDD, like all these different illnesses, like that were not actually illnesses at the end of the day. And I'm going to get to that later. My dad always thought I was never ill, and he always told me I was just gifted. And all of those things had just happened because in my childhood, I went through a lot of abuse. Although my parents, were people who were spiritual, etc., I was not raised the right way. I would say like it was a pretty abusive household. And I guess that made my awakening really harsh and very full of negative energy. So it made me have a lot of mental disturbances and a lot of like traumas brought up forth. Anyways, fast forward to when I was 16, when I realized that I started questioning more. I started questioning less like why the world was the way it was, and I started questioning more like my own existence. Because up until that point, I was pretty much atheist. Like I didn't really believe in anything outside of myself, right? I always told my parents like God doesn't exist, whatever. And I started actually questioning.
I was going to say, do you feel like when you what you went through got you to that point, like you sort of lost connection with the earth type thing and just gone, this nothing's really real, if you know what I mean. So you had those views, and then you had obviously your spiritual awakening, which you'll get into.
Yes. So I feel like when you go through that amount of pain, it's hard for you to grasp on the fact that everything's happening for a reason.
Absolutely.
So
I can relate. This is why we do what we do, because there's a lot of people out there that don't really understand. We've been pushed like grounding to the earth, and sort of being earth people as we are, and understanding what we've gone through. People have to understand there's more to life than just what you see on the thing. Not to say medical diagnosis, we're not medical practitioners or anything, but there is that other side that we have gone through and we've understood. Sorry to keep going. Sorry to cut you off. You're very interesting.
No, I love having the conversation flow. It's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, I totally agree. I feel like for a long time, I was in that victim mindset. I was hurting a lot of people around me. I was hurting myself. And it was not good, but I felt like it was too shameful for me to realize that I was the one at blame all along. Because at one point, of course, like, you're not responsible for your trauma, but you are responsible for what you do with your trauma. And what I was doing was extremely hurtful to others and myself. So I feel like it was.
Did you feel like you understood your trauma? You didn't really understand your trauma, because I know I went through it myself, and understanding that I had traumas and I didn't know how to actually express them or feel them or sort of be enhanced with it. Sort of, as we know now, we can embrace what our feelings that we've got, and then we can make it part of ourselves. But at a younger age, we didn't do that, did we? We didn't have the tools.
We didn't even have the capability to understand that we were traumatized, even if we went through hardcore abuse. Because I didn't even realize my household was abusive until I was like 14. Although it was clearly abused.
Understand. Understand. Yes.
I'm not sure why that happens. I'm not sure why that happens. Well, I feel like I have an idea of it. I feel like when you're in it, it's pretty hard. And just like when you're in a toxic relationship in the beginning, it's kind of like you're doubting it because you can't really get out of it, especially when it's your parents, you're underage, and you have nowhere to go. It's pretty much hard to come to agreement that you're being abused and you have nowhere to go, and that's the only place you can stay. So I feel like it's kind of like a coping mechanism.
It's the safest place is in your room type thing. I mean, I don't know, you sit in your room and just sort of you're talking to people that aren't even there. Like we talk about to spirits and guides and stuff, looking for, and we know we're being protected, but we're just in this really scary area, aren't we? This really scary part. Where we're by ourselves, aren't we? And we just don't have anyone, really. Let's be honest.
Yes, definitely. At that time, I felt very lonely. So I totally agree with what you're saying. I never necessarily like heard voices. It was just like my internal dialogue was split into so many different parts. You understand?
Understand.
And so it felt like I was embodying all these different personalities inside of me when I spoke to myself, and like it was horrible. I had anger, tantrums, and like rage episodes, and insane attachment issues, scared of being alone, like in toxic relationships and toxic situations, etc. Like, and I was raised in Miami, like as a teenager, because I said I was raised in Peru, but I went to Miami when I was like 9. So Miami's not a good place to raise a kid, you know.
I've seen some of that. I've seen some of that out there. I don't know, but look, it's credit to you to where you've got to. And some of it, as I say, I'll just segue quickly to some of the TikToks that attracted me to you, and just some of your knowledge is just amazing. I mean, we've all gone through it, and I'm going through it right now. But it's really nice to connect with someone and getting to know someone who's been through those, those traumas, and understanding there is another way spiritually to step out of it and understand and work with the shadow like I do, and understand the traumas, understand subconscious minds and how it all works. I think we're just very disconnected to that at the moment, so it's great. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
No, I love your insight. I feel like it helps me also like elaborate my next points. No, but yeah, when it comes to what happened to me, like it was hard to come to terms that I was like what I was doing with my current life was up to me. But my awakening actually was when I took psychedelics spiritually, because I had taken it like just for fun once, and then the second time I took it, I had a bad trip, and I couldn't understand what was going on. Like, why the fuck am I having a bad trip on my second time
Swear as
being
much as you like.
in?
Swear as much as you like.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay, cool. So, I couldn't understand why I was having a bad trip, and like it was very traumatizing. Like that trip left me like, dude, my sense of reality has just been like shaken up. Like that was really crazy. Because when I tripped, I was always very hypersensitive to psychedelics. When I tripped, it was like I took DMT. Like other people wouldn't trip the way that I did for some reason. And now the third time I tripped was a very spiritual trip, and I had my best friend, her name's Kulin. We were just talking in the Uber at one point, and that was a very, very spiritual trip. Like I was able to like telepathically connect with my friend. I was able to like see the future of the trip for some reason. We were like sitting in the car in the park, and then I was able to see like how the trip would go, exactly what would happen throughout the trip, what we would say, etc. So when it actually happened, I was like, no way, like that is insane that I was able to see that before.
Yeah, it's like you've unlocked your superpower, isn't it? Like, I mean, as I've just come into I thought I had it, but I really haven't really connected with them till probably this year. And obviously, there's been a lot of energy shifts, as we know, September 23 and all that. So what you're saying is you're coming into that superpower, and you understand you coming into a superpower at a young age is amazing, and understanding and having the resort to say, hang on, something's going on here, this is great, and then moving with it the way you are now. So yeah.
Yes. And it was really interesting too, because like I didn't even like grasp on that stuff before. Like I had never had an experience like that. Maybe the bad trip was that experience and I just couldn't understand it. But at one point, like the part of my trip that really I started like bawling my eyes out was in the Uber. And my friend was telling me like how meat was bad, and then out of nowhere, I just had so many visions, like some insane visions of the universe, and like this knowledge just being remembered from like this ancient knowledge from like the universe that was telling me like, you are in this world and they're poisoning you guys, and you're actually spiritual beings, like you're gifted, and everybody's also very spiritual, they're just being poisoned. And I just saw like everything, like stuff, like it was some insane stuff. It was almost like I got like unplugged from the Matrix, and like the universe just showed me like what life really was. And I had never cried that much. The Uber was like, is she okay? And it was really
they all think we're all crazy in some ways, but I mean, once we have that grounding and stuff, and opening up, like doing meditations for the third eye. I mean, I do a lot of myself, I did a coaching course with Tony Robbins. I've got and now just connecting with you, especially connecting with my tag, I call her my tag team partner, Jackie Lyons in Canada. Like it's a yin and yang for us, the way to give us the power to give this platform for people like yourself, but also the power for ourselves. You just really get into understanding of stuff that you love, and understanding why you love it. You know what I mean? I can see what you're doing. Sorry, keep going. This is really cool. So,
no, yeah, and I feel like it's super cool that you're also doing this, because I'm sure you also bring other people that are able to resonate with you, resonate with so many others as well. I feel like the work that we're doing is God's work, and because we're God, but
we are the universe. Yeah. Once we connect to the universe, open up your chakras, open up the third eye, get the visions, understand what's going. Look, there's look, I'll keep you keep going, and then at the end when we'll do a quick Q&A at the end, because I want them to hear about your story. Keep going.
Okay, cool. So that was like the day that I basically woke up, right? Because I was already questioning stuff before, like deeply questioning my existence, but that's when I really woke up. And after that, I became like pretty spiritual, I would say. I was like very connected, and I was able to like start with my spiritual gifts. Like my mental illness, like I was able to start managing the energy. I started understanding it was really just energy, like everything's energy. So what I'm dealing with is just a hypersensitivity to energy. And that's how I actually not came up, because I'm sure other people have like thought about it. I self-taught. I'm not gonna lie. I self-taught, like, based off my own experiences, based off like my understanding
We all
of like
have a
how
lot.
energies work.
Yeah, we all have a life PhD, don't we? So I mean, we go through it, and then we actually, once we get ourselves, but then we trust in above, really trust, and we're guided, and then we get that knowledge, we get that. Like we're talking now, you know what I mean? You can see
Yes.
them, we're talking now. So yeah, sorry, keep going. Yeah,
I agree, and of course I did get help from like people. Eventually, I got help from a psychic, and I also got help from a shaman, and I was trained to better perfect it, right? But before that, it was really just me because I was also a teenager, broke, I couldn't afford a shaman or a psychic, and it was pretty intense, honestly, like in the beginning. And my root chakra was very unbalanced, and my crown was very open. Eventually I went through my psychotic episode after that. Actually, it wasn't for the spiritual awakening, it was after my spiritual awakening, because I tripped again, and
okay.
I already had like episodes where like I start thinking I'm like a clone or some shit like that, which I was actually talking on live about this today. But my psychosis had everything to do with like my traumas. At the same time, it also had to do with me just like opening up myself to knowledge that I tried to humanly explain and like find like the meaning and like the logic to it. And I feel like that destroyed my brain when I try to do it, especially, obviously, like as human beings. So when that happened to me, because I went through that psychotic episode, I couldn't smoke weed anymore. I don't smoke weed. I never was able to trip again. And after that, I was just able to, it took me a while to recover, I'm not gonna lie. And eventually it happened again. Like I kept having episodes without doing anything, without taking psychedelics or without doing anything. I just kept having episodes of psychosis where I thought I was a clone. And I was a clone of the real Irah, right? Irah was like a real spiritual being, and I was a clone who was disconnected from source. I was just like living life on repeat, like the same life over and over again.
Rinse
I
and
was like
repeat,
a
like most
glitch.
people do. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Like
Yeah,
most people do. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, which drives
yeah,
us
and
insane.
yeah. So I thought I would literally was living the same life over and over again for eternity, and I was so scared. I thought I was a glitch in the matrix, and the only emotion I was able to feel when I would have like those psychotic episodes was fear. Now, what that psychotic episode actually was, which I learned, and I feel like this happens to a lot of people. So there's different types of delusions that people can get. They can feel like their loved ones have been like replaced. They can feel like their thoughts are being broadcasted to the world, and people can hear their thoughts, or that they're getting other people's thoughts implanted in them. There's so many different types of delusions, but I promise you, there's like an explanation to all of these delusions from a spiritual standpoint. For example, me thinking I'm a clone and that everybody else is real, and I'm living in a reality that is not real, is all fake, and I'm just like a clone of the real Irah. What happened with that was that when I was a kid, I was so like outcasted by the world, and like I was told that I was a bad kid, like bad, you're bad, you're weird, etc. As a little kid, like 3, 4, 5 years old, it was pretty traumatizing. My whole life I was outcasted up until I was like 16. Like people's parents did not want to see me with their child. I was like 5 years old, and their parents would not let me hang out with their child. I would want to call my friend, and they wouldn't want to, let me hang out with them, because I didn't understand social norms. I didn't understand them. And so I would just say stuff that I wasn't supposed to see. To say, if I saw like a TV show that had like murderous stuff in there, then I would say some crazy like stuff to little kids. And I was also a little kid, so I'm not sure why adults didn't understand that. But people just thought I was really weird, so they outcasted me. And I feel like I split myself in two when I was little. Like I was like, am I good or am I bad? I don't know. And like, am I evil? Am I bad? Like I always had that in my head messing with me when I was going through my mental illness, right? When I was like 15, 14, I thought I was a psychopath, because I was like, dude, like my emotions, I only feel like anger and sadness, like all these negative emotions. And like, I had like that idea, like people are telling me I'm evil, like as a little kid. right? So I had that always in the back of my brain, like, you're evil, you're bad, like, nobody gets you, like, you're messed up, you're fucked up, you feel me? And I feel like the world did that to me as a kid, and so I projected that in my psychosis, and I became my own clone. I literally manifested a good Ari that was like the real Ari, and the fake Ari who was me. The fake Ari was the persona that people had created that was deemed as bad, the negative one, the evil one, right? So I thought I was the evil clone, and I literally I physically manifested that. And the way that I did it was insane. But once I was able to like really analyze that trauma, because I sat down once while I was having like that almost episode, because every single time I'm about to enter psychosis, like I get panic attacks, and I know exactly like the energy that comes after that. So when I was getting those panic attacks and I was about to enter into psychosis, I actually sat with my emotion, and like I started analyzing it and really feeling my emotion, telling my emotion it's okay to feel this way. Like, I validate you. I'm here with you unconditionally. And then I asked it, like, where are you coming from?
Can I ask you on that, right? Can I ask you on that one?
Of course.
Because you're working with the shadow, that's shadow for me. Obviously, you had to do it yourself. How did you get to a point in your life that you could actually talk to yourself in that way?
So how do I get there? Okay, so I had a bunch of help, of course, from like different like YouTube videos. I feel like I know Teal Swan. A lot of people don't like her, but Teal Swan like has some pretty cool stuff on like healing. I'm not gonna lie, her healing stuff actually worked for me, and I feel like that helped. And also understanding like my psychosis was not real. Like after my spiritual awakening, I always had a feeling that like, dude, I don't think I'm actually a clone. Like I feel like that's actually some like really intense traumas being like projected into the surface. And I also felt like I was having like thoughts broadcasted and all that stuff. And I feel like once I was in that really low vibration and that's so spiritually opened, other entities were like, cool, she has, she's open. So they started latching themselves on me. You feel me? And me thinking that people can hear my thoughts was literally me like, yes, they can hear your thoughts. Like you're connected to the collective consciousness. Every single thought is in the Akashic records. You feel me? Do you see how psychosis like kind of ties into that? Like we're all connected to the Akashic records. If you tap into the Akashic records right now, like all the thoughts we ever thought are there. So if you're having psychosis and you feel like you're being broadcasted, it's because you are. Like you're literally connected to the Akashic records right now, and somebody else is getting your thought across the world.
Well, this is the thing with Jackie is an Akashic record reader, my partner. So I only really explored the Akashic records this year and understood there was a library. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't understand the whole theory behind it because I was still going into the shadow because I'm always into the dark stuff. And people go, like as I said to you, I talk about the dark and they go evil. I know it's not. It's part of you. You got to love it, and come to, as you said, come to a happiness with it. Like come to I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. I'm going blank. It's only like 8:30 in the morning here. But you're looking for that connection with it, and just sit with it, talk with it, and say, right, this is okay. This is what I learned. This is how I'm going to move forward. So that's how you went, pretty much, yeah.
Yes, and I feel like the shadow, as so many people try to push away their shadow or like name it something bad or something that they have to fix, right? Most people are like, I need to heal my shadow, I need to fix my shadow, when in reality you should be hearing your shadow. You feel me? You should be validating your shadow, because your shadow has a perfectly good reason to be acting out the way that it is. You feel me? In some essence, like those parts of you that are traumatized are like protecting you. Like the way that they act out in your daily life, like you might not be like, oh, that's not good. But if you want,
we've got 10 minutes to go on this one, so
yeah,
we'll keep going.
We can do another. Yeah. So we usually try to like, say that we have to fix it, etc. But I love my shadow, and I have obviously gotten it to understand that it's no longer in danger. Of course, there's a lot of things that I have to heal. I feel like we're forever healing. And that's a beautiful thing. So obviously, if you have nothing else to heal, then you're not really doing a great job at being human. You feel me? Because there 100% is something else to heal. And when it comes to the shadow, I think you just have to love it. Like, I embrace my shadow a lot. I know I have a dark part of me, and I love my dark part. I feel like it gives me my creativity. I feel like maybe sometimes I think of messed up stuff, and I feel like that's beautiful. I'm allowed to, duality. And it's okay. Like, I feel like people try to be like love and light and all that stuff, but your darkness is literally like a very beautiful part to yourself, and it should be as appreciated as your light part. Because I'm very compassionate. I love helping people, and like I devote my life to helping people. I don't know if you see this through my content, but I take a lot of time in my content. Yeah. And
well, there's a reason why I asked you on the show. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and so I live for that. Yeah, and it's my purpose, so I live for it. If I wasn't doing it, I would simply like not want to live. But yeah, I feel like that is a beautiful part of me, but I also like to embrace my darkness, and like I also like to not turn away my shadow. Like, if it comes up, it comes up, and I'm gonna hear it out, and I'm gonna help it. I'm gonna work with it, right? And I feel like my shadow is also like a beautiful part. I feel like people try to get darkness to be such a bad thing when it's not a bad thing. I feel like your darkness protects you.
Yeah, the way I've understood it, why I talk to people and moving into shadow, being a shadow, I hate the word coach, but a mentor, whatever, helping people with their shadow. I just don't, coach is a catchword for me. I just can't do it. It's just the way, you know what I mean? Just a catchword. I'm a coach.
I do know. That's why I don't use it either. I'm like mentor.
Great, you're a coach. Well done. That's great. Yeah. Looking at it from a point of the subconscious being a protector, being that guardian, and then you have those traumas. You have to actually express the traumas and go through it, and people are a bit not ashamed, but they just don't understand why they react. And I mean, they think, it's just anger, it's just this, but there's obviously, you brought into this world perfect as we do, and you develop that character. So I mean, if you've had a traumatic experience, you have to be able to deal with that, and that's where the shadow comes. Whereas I think, as I said, not being a medical man or anything, but they don't deep down, they want to heal it and say, you have to be a better person for it. But you can be a better person by incorporating, as you said, and understanding it and making it part of you, but using it for the betterment of yourself.
Yeah, 100%. What you're saying is basically like your shadow has parts of you that you repressed because people told you shouldn't feel them, that are very useful to you now if you just kind of get over that block that your shadow has, right? Because it's not, for example, if you were like very hyper as a kid and very active, and like your parent told you, stop being so hyper, like you're so annoying, I need to work, and they hate you, for example, they hate you, and they tell you don't be hyper, and so they hate you when you're hyper, right? Obviously you're going to be like, every single time I'm hyper, they're going to hit me. So what happens in your adult life, you're not going to want to like move. You're not gonna want to be hyper. You're not gonna want to be active. So whenever you want to actually do things, right? Do things that excite you, that give you energy, that are active, right? You're not gonna do it. You're gonna procrastinate. You're not gonna move.
That's right.
You feel me?
That's exactly.
So that's your shadow.
That's exactly how that's right.
So that's a pretty interesting thing, because that's your shadow. But do you see how if you were to remove that block of not moving, you have a hyperactive kid at your core that will help you do the things that you want to do in your daily life, right? So if you were to remove
sorry, keep going.
It's okay. I'm done with my point.
No. There's a dropouts here. I get dropouts in where I am, so I do apologize for that. So that's why I jump in. No, that's it's interesting with that, because I work with the animal medicine cards, obviously crystal healing cards. They give you a message. I get messages from those. So the message is, for example, the crow is the one that takes the spirit across to the next realm. and they bring them back, and they're the ones who create that pathway. They take the spirit when it needs to, stuff like that, and they give you a message for you to use, and that's how it works for me anyway. So do you have any particular, okay, we've got about 4 minutes to go on this one, so we'll do it on part one. Have you got any, where are you at right now with regards to someone coming and seeing your TikToks like I did, and telling them their life, and what they've gone through? What would you, as your experience, what would you give them? What kind of advice would you give them, and where would you go to connect with them on that level? Because you obviously don't know them from a bar of soap, and they come to you and they say, okay, I've got this, and this, and they come like they don't know how to control it. How would you connect with them, and how would you give them the information to become better?
So the most important thing I always tell people, and this is like what I help people do, like with my clients, and it's the most important thing, like it's develop your awareness. Like your awareness is your superpower. Your awareness is the key to understanding everything that is happening to you. Your awareness is what's going to help you know what energies are yours and what energies are from other people that you're feeling. You feel me? So your awareness is literally like the key to understanding when you're intaking too much energy, and when your energy is way too low. It's the key to understanding, like, yo, I'm feeling kind of off, like what is this? And then you're able to decipher it. But it's all through starting to develop your awareness. And this is what has helped me with my mental illness, with my with the things that I dealt with, because my awareness was literally like the thing that helped me understand and like be more observant with these energy changes that I was going through, because that's what my mental illness was like humongous intakes of energy that I didn't know how to handle. But when you become observant and you become aware of them, you kind of start to understand like when it's happening, so you're able to actually either stop it or neutralize it and observe it and understand where it's coming from, which is shadow work, right? Shadow work is also through awareness. You can only do it through awareness. Developing your gifts only through awareness. Like awareness is the first step. You need to learn how to do this. Why meditation is so important. Like meditation is something that every single person like that is spiritual, it's going to tell you, yo, meditate. But why do you need to meditate? You meditate because you need to develop your awareness. Like your awareness is like the first thing that you need to really, really work on.
Yeah, that's exactly becoming. I think being in a safe space to get that awareness happening. You know what I mean? So you can actually be yourself and express yourself the way it goes.